My name is Edison. I'm the new constituent liaison for District 4 for the City Council, and I just have a handout for the update. Thank you. Oh, and the overflow flyers over here. Oh,
Detective Stewart can go next. Okay, go ahead and talk to her. Detective Stewart, do you want to go next? Oh, there she is.
So Detective Stewart, there is a problem in the AV issue here. So you're gonna have to speak really loud if that's possible.
Yes. Sorry. I'm currently logged on to 2 other meetings during this time, so apologize for the background noise. But I hope everyone can hear me. This being the first day of November, we don't have the statistics out yet. It usually takes a couple of days where our statistics analysts can grab all the statistics that happened as of midnight last night and then post them to our website at SLC Crime Statistics or on slcpd.com. But I'm very, very happy to be here. It's good to see you all. Just kind of open it up for questions for the police department, anything that you guys have. Hopefully next month will bring us a few days more into the month, and then I can present the statistics. But we have seen a really, really big improvement in crime since our HRC squad started. So very, very happy about that squad and everything that they've brought to the Telfer Park and the neighborhoods around the Geraldine E. King Resource Center. Does anyone have anything for me that they are concerned about in the Central City neighborhood?
Third East and 100 South, I know that area is pretty bad. Is there a plan of action or something that's going to be done to address that area?
Okay, sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, the area around 300 East between 100 and 300 South, that is kind of like the new Skid Row, Salt Lake. I mean, it's really bad over there. Is there any team or anything that's being worked on to address that? Ooh, feedback.
Yeah, Skid Row, a problem for quite a while. But yes, we have that. So our new temporary shelter community is opening up very soon. We see a lot of work being done. We were hoping for today, but very, very soon. And within a radius, we have focal points, and I have really pushed to include the 3rd East between 1 and 200, but more specifically between 1 and 400 South to be a focal point for our squads. And we were able to include that area in our problem areas and our focal points. So we have a few operations currently in the works to attack the drug dealing and prostitution, different drugs or different problems that are going on in that area. So yes, it is on our agenda to get over there weekly for our mitigation squads. And so yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And Ryan Sanders and the squad have been doing an amazing job around the resource center and Taffer Park. I've noticed a difference, and I've thanked him and different areas. But yeah, they've done great. So hopefully that could transfer over and we can get some improvement over on 3rd East and right where we're talking about. So because that's an area where he lives nearby and he sees that all the time. So
oh yeah, certainly alleviates patrol officers who were spending a lot of time near Telfer Park and the Geraldine E. King. Now they don't have to go over there and answer those calls for service because that squad is there. So it frees up patrol to go to other parts in the city. So very, very good. Yes, I love this. Love the squad. Does anyone else have anything for me that you're dealing with? I know the statistics around River Rock, the crime there has decreased dramatically. since that squad started. So very good news there as well. So yeah, good things in Central City, very good things in Central City.
I agree. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.
All right, talk to you next time. Bye.
Tim's not here. Hey, Christy, I know you wanted to give an update on your streetlights. I thought maybe Tim would show up, but he's not here, so feel free to talk about that for a minute or two.
Oh, I didn't come to the meeting because I thought we couldn't address it, so that's the doctor's working. Oh my gosh.
So my name's Christina and I'm running the Zoom meeting. So I'm just putting you out to the crowd and talk as loud as you can.
I stayed home to eat dinner because I thought we wouldn't be able to address this issue. So I live on Roberta Street, which is 240 East between 8th and 9th South. And we have lights on our street that are decorative kind of, and they're not considered city lights. They're special lighting district, which is managed by a city worker named Dave Pearson. And I talked to Tim Cosgrove in the mayor's office today, and I've been putting in city tickets, sending messages, doing things for like, I don't know, at least 6-9 months. And we've been going round and round about it because it doesn't fall in anybody's purview. And Tim has been such a sweetheart. And he talked to me today and he said, actually, it was my lights on my street were put in with a federal grant like 25-30 years ago. Every single light on the street is broken. It doesn't work. The gorgeous like decorative bulbs are, many of them are cracked or missing. So it looks pretty rough. And I said, can we just get some help to fix it? And he had a lot of ideas about doing like a community block party, some kind of organizing and some small grants. And he wanted me to bring to the community council some brainstorming. Not being there, it's a little bit awkward to approach this idea, but the street looks pretty rough. But he talked to the guy who owns Felt Lighting in Sugar House, who drove down the street and came up with a bid or some concepts. I don't have anything written in hand. I don't have an email with like a price breakdown, but I think it's like under $3,000 to fix the whole street, like paint the lights, replace the bulbs, put in new light bulbs. The whole thing would be fixed. And it's nice because the company in Sugar House remembers putting in the original lights. So it's a sweet story. But anyway, Tim has this vision about us getting the mayor's volunteer corps or getting a city block party, but most of the buildings on my street are like rentals, and I don't really know the people, and there's like some neighborhood weirdness. So anyway, I'm not really sure what I'm bringing to the council to discuss, other than I'm trying to fix this problem. And maybe in the spring we could fix it, because I don't see us fixing it in December or January.
Awesome. Thanks, Christy.
Maybe you want to talk about your event? Oh, what? Sure. You want me to go up there? Yeah. Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay, hi, my name's Katie. I'm the facility director at Central City Recreation Center. And we are excited. Anybody who's been in the Central City neighborhood for a long time knows that every Thanksgiving, we host our annual community Thanksgiving dinner, which is free to the public. And so we will be hosting our Thanksgiving dinner again this year on Tuesday, November 21st, which I preface, I know that's election night, but we are at the mercy. We are so grateful that Utah Valley University Culinary School caters this event for us. And this is why we're able to do this. And so the only night they had available was November 21st. So go out and vote and then come and get a turkey dinner. So please spread the word with all your community members, let them know. We've got flyers here if you would like to take them. It'll be that Tuesday. It'll be from 5:30 to 7:30. The whole shred, turkey, mashed potatoes, pie, and all of that. So we hope to see everybody there on that Tuesday night. Thank you.
Keeps us.
Well, that would be his Zoom password. Yeah. So if you're out in Zoom and you're trying to log in, click on the link in the email for Central City, and you have to enter your own personal Zoom password.
Let's.
Spotter, and the head of the transportation committee for the community council. Just a quick update, we submitted a CIP application for the 600 South corridor from about 200 East to 600 East. To basically help the city has this new street typology called a urban boulevard. It'll make it better for walking and biking along the corridor, so we are at the very beginning of the official application process for that, but that's what we've been doing recently. And then two other things, I think Kyle, the city will be talking about livable streets later on in our meeting this evening. And also the city is interested in feedback on the Green Loop project idea along 200 East. I think there's a big engagement effort on that tomorrow, November 2nd. You can go see it in person and maybe do a bike tour or walking tour. There's also, I believe, a survey online that will be open until the end of November. They're looking for your feedback. That's it for transportation.
I just want to talk a little bit about an upcoming event on this Saturday. We are meeting at Liberty Park to clean out the Seven Canyons fountain. And we are teaming up with East Liberty Park and Liberty Wells Community Councils to do that. So if you have an hour or two free on Saturday, we'd love to see you. I think it's at 10 o'clock is when we're meeting. So let me know if you have any questions.
It's really fun.
It is really fun. There's usually treats there too, which is always a good thing. And then I just wanted to let everybody know that elections for the council are coming up next month, and we are looking for people to help and join us. And if you're interested in being the chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, a committee leader, we need it all. So yeah, if you are interested, reach out. And there's more information on our website, or you can email me directly. So thanks. Is Jay Fisher or Mitch Vance here? Okay.
I'm just going to check the chat real quick and make sure that we're attending to everybody in the Zoom.
Did you get it?
Okay, no questions from the Zoom.
We are expecting Mitch Vance from Jay Fisher to talk about Edison apartment project, but it doesn't look like he's here yet. So I will let Nate and the school board get started a little early. So Nate, welcome to come out.
How's it going, everybody? It's good to be back at Central City. For those of you that don't know me, I'm representative for District 4 or Precinct 4 on the Salt Lake City School Board. I'm in the first year of my second term, and in the first year of being the board president out of a 2-year term as well. So it's been an awesome experience. I love being back in community council meetings. For those of you that don't know me, like Cindy, I think I got my start over 10 years ago at the Douglas Neighborhood Association, East Central Community Council, but I currently live here in Central City on Gudgel Port, which is in between 7th and 8th South, 4th and 5th East. right by the artesian well, the Bagel Project. So I've been in my home there for about 10 years now. I love it. So I'm really excited to be here tonight with you all. I know there's a huge decision that the board is having to make coming up at the beginning of the year relative to boundary alignment and realignment and potential school closure. So I just wanted to introduce myself and also introduce our awesome team that I brought with me tonight. Just so that you know, the way that our policy is structured relative to boundaries and school closure, long-term school closure, our G5 policy. The administration, so our superintendent and Brian, who's acting in a role relative to this process, a specific role. They're the ones that are in charge of this process right now. So we've been working closely as a board with the superintendent. We receive monthly updates about what progress is being made relative to the further study. As you know, 7 schools were identified and approved by the board for further study. We are in that process right now. And so when we got the call from Rihanna to come present out, we were happy to do so. But I also wanted to take the opportunity to introduce our new superintendent, Dr. Elizabeth Grant, who's just going to take a couple minutes to introduce herself and a little bit about her vision for the school district. And you'll get a very good sense of why the school board selected Dr. Grant to be our next superintendent and our current superintendent. Dr. Grant.
Hello, everybody. I'm Liz Grant. I grew up in Salt Lake City School District. Went to elementary school here and middle school and high school, and then on to the University of Utah. Have been an educator my whole career. I was a school teacher for 7 years, and then I was an administrator for 6 years as an assistant principal at Edison Elementary. And then if any of you remember Lowell Elementary on the Avenues, which is now where the open classroom is, I was the principal there for 5 years. I had taught junior high and high school, but then was able to be an elementary school principal. After that, I wanted to get into education policy, and so went back to school and then moved to Washington, D.C. and have worked in education policy there for nearly 2 decades before coming back to Salt Lake into this to be with family and friends a lot, but also excited to be in this role as superintendent. I want to tell you just quickly, when I was interviewed and then offered the position, I was pretty excited and flew back to Washington, D.C., where I had been living in order to start packing up and moving out here. And I was in the airport at the gift shop when a gentleman came up to me with his wife, and he said, "Oh, I guess we should offer you our congratulations." And I didn't know him, but there had been enough media coverage that he knew me. And he looked at me at that moment and said, "Why did you take it?" And I was clear then, and I'm clear now. It's because we can, because Salt Lake City School District has so much potential. There is so much we can do in this district. This is actually a remarkable district, not only because of the talent within the district, but the resources and connections and help offered by the community around the district. My conviction is that our district should be knocking it out of the park. I think our students should be exceeding our expectations for them. And I think over the coming years, we can do that. I have laid down the gauntlet a bit with neighboring districts and with others and with our internal team that I expect that Salt Lake City School District will be the flagship district in the state. I think we can lead in measures of student growth, how much they learn under our care, in student growth, in equity, meaning that our programs, our advanced academic programs in particular, can look like our students and they representing our student body, and they don't now. I think our teacher corps can represent the diversity of our city as well as our leadership corps. I think we can lead an opportunity, and what we're looking at right now to do that is to build more distinct structured college pathways that link our students to these universities and colleges right on our doorstep and provide a seamless pipeline for them to enter into those programs. and also career pathways. I'm really excited about career pathways. We are part of the first apprenticeship program in the state of Utah with the Stadler Train Company, where students go for a year of high school. They do 2 years in an associate's degree while they're getting paid work opportunities, and then they graduate with a job. So that they have gone through a European style apprenticeship program and they have a job in advanced manufacturing. We just signed off with the paper box company for a second apprenticeship. We're now part of this. We are the only one in the state to have 2 apprenticeship programs, and we're looking for more to build these pathways for students that aren't reliant on college, but still get them into careers that have an upward trajectory of growth for them over time. And so excited to do that. I also believe that we can lead in accomplishment. And by that, I mean, we can put more of our students into honors programs in our local universities. We can grab up more of the national merit and other scholar awards with our students for the top end achievement that way, as well as graduating with advanced placement degrees, international baccalaureate degrees, those sorts of things that offer them all sorts of opportunity in the world. So I'm excited about that. And as I have said many times, Salt Lake City School District is a gem. And I think we can capitalize that over the next few years. One thing, though, is that we have in front of a school closure. I don't know if you saw the report recently from the Gardner Center. They just put out a report on Utah that the state of Utah will lose 40,000 school-aged children by 2032. Our demographics are changing so much that across the state, we're going to lose 40,000 children. In the last 8 years in Salt Lake District, we've lost 3,800 elementary school students. 3,800 kids of elementary school grades is how many kids we have declined in just the last 8 years. I think there's probably 3 factors for this. Obviously, as you know, housing prices, which make it hard for families to live in Salt Lake, harder than it has been. It is smaller family size. People are just not having a lot of kids. And so those families that we do have are just not giving us as many students as maybe they used to. And then competition. There are charter schools and private schools and homeschooling as options now that weren't available before. So we face all of that in the decline in population and school age population in our city, and it is happening across our city. It's not happening in one area particularly or another within the city boundaries, but it's pretty much happening across our city. With that, we have more schools than we need and more schools than we ought to have if we want to spend the dollars that we have wisely in supporting teaching and learning. So rather than spending the dollars to keep small schools open, when we can consolidate into fewer schools and spend the money on teaching and learning, that's the direction we're going. How to spend that on the people who are working in the classroom. So that is the hard and tough task we have now, is trying to decide then which schools might close. And as Nate mentioned, we're following a policy along that, and Brian's going to give you a little bit more background, and then we'll try and answer some questions if we've got some time.
This is Brian Conley. He's our boundary and planning director for the school district, working on a special assignment. Probably not the special assignment we thought it was going to be, but nonetheless, I really appreciate his time, and we'll be available for questions after the presentation.
Thank you, Board President and Superintendent. Brian Conley. Also, my background here as an educator has been as a teacher, a coach, an assistant principal, a principal, and in school support positions across my time. Here, 25 years here in Salt Lake City. Though I'm not a product of Salt Lake City schools, my 6 children, 2 stepchildren, 4 children, they are either a product of our school district or are in the process of becoming a product of our school district. So I I have 6 big reasons for being interested in this, not only professionally, but personally as well. So as board member, board president Salazar had put out there, the work that we're doing right now is trying to, as he invited us here, it's really trying to get people aware of the why, and a lot of that why from Dr. Grant and from our board president, and also the where are we in this process and where are we going. So with that, wanted to start with a little bit of information here. Here's some information from our US Census from 2020 that shows Salt Lake City, there's only one municipality in the Wasatch Front region that has fewer than 20% of their population under the age of 18 years of age or less. So there's Park City up there, they're about 18% of their population is under the age of 18 years, and Salt Lake City is the next one. Even you can see right there, and well, of course, Murray at 20% under would be in 3rd place. So even Murray is a little bit younger than us right now. The fastest growing demographic, I believe, for our city is ages 45 and up for age demographic. Dr. Grant alluded to some of this. This isn't one of those that we want to be in the top 10 in the nation, but we're number 7. This was taken from that the Gardner Institute information about, hey, it's getting really expensive to live here, and if you've lived here for more than a minute, you know that, and that's hard on families. We've had declining enrollment and increasing enrollment in the past in our district. If you go way back, about 1950, it climbed for quite a number of years, but you can see there was about a 15-year span where the number almost was cut in half for number of students. This is for K-12. And then things were up and down for quite a while. And during that time when things were up and down, obviously that span between 64 and 79 with 32 schools that were closed, and certainly some others were open. For example, Ensign Elementary, the old Ensign Elementary, it was where the Sweet Library branch is right now. That's where the old Ensign Elementary is. Now it's in a different spot. But anytime a school closes, it changes the dynamics of a neighborhood. We're very aware of that, and there were the 60s, from the 60s and 70s, they had a lot more practice at it than we have. You can see that over the last, if you look over in the far right column, what's happened, you know, over the last 40 years, it's just been those 5 schools right there in the last 40 years. And recently, Dr. Grant alluded to Lowell Hurl, her former school where she was principal, closed in 2002, Roslyn Heights 2003. We did have a virtual school with a dwindling number of students just this year as well that closed. So digging in more to our K-6 population, we know for different reasons, we have seen our numbers go down at our elementary school population. But we have, over that same period of time, and even years before that, maintained the same number of elementary schools. So it was something that we needed to address, and we're doing our best moving forward trying to address that. For lots of reasons that take longer than we have right now, we could debate why it didn't happen sooner. We're trying to take what we know now and do the best we can to move forward, being responsible as stewards of education in our city. Our study was really trying to, the number one is one that I don't think people think it's a numbers game or a money game way too often. We think that a thriving neighborhood school gives our students experiences and opportunities that you don't have if you don't have a thriving neighborhood school. And we can talk a little bit more about that piece of it. And it ties into what number 3 is up here. We want to be sure that every elementary student, the roughly 9,000 300 elementary students we do have, we want them to have the opportunity to learn in an appropriate and engaging setting. We don't want this to just be for 5 schools in this part of town and 2 schools in that part of town. We want to see it for all, however many elementaries we have, which right now is 27 elementaries. Through this process, it isn't just about having school choice of choosing between one school and another school. It's within school choice that we take away when we have dwindling numbers and a small school population. We want within school choices for students and families. So your second grader comes to school at a school, there isn't only one second grade class. And then the following year, the third grade class is also a split class with 4th graders. And then the 4th grade year, that split's gone and it's back down to 1 class. Those are the kind of dynamics we're seeing in about just over 30 of our classrooms this year across our district. Across 27 schools, we've got about 30 of our classrooms, a little bit more than that, that are fighting through those kind of dynamics with too small a school. And the other benefits, we also, yes, we do want to be efficient and effective with our financial resources, but we also know that there are special school programs and in our schools that have to do with art and language and different pieces like that, but we also have district programs, and we want to be able to offer those in a fair way for all of our students as well, and not just a select few. Some of the impacts, we know that has already been brought up, we have 7 schools being studied for closure. We know that any of our elementaries may be impacted by a boundary change. So even if a school doesn't close, it could be a school seeing 80, 90, 100 more students coming to that school. That changes dynamics of the school, and the transition work that we're going to be prepared to do really centers around a lot of new boundaries. Means we're opening really new schools. We're not trying to assimilate students coming from other areas into what's already there. We want to integrate and really draw upon the wealth of resources and the assets that they bring as a group of students from maybe a neighboring school as we do this. We're also looking at location of special district programs like dual language immersion and our gifted and talented magnet ELP program. They may be at different schools next year, depending on what, if any, schools close. So our approach is G5 that's listed up there under number 1. I should have put the administrative procedures from policy G5. We have 5 primary categories I'm going to share with you just briefly, and those represent the principles that guide the development to our recommendations, which will be coming in late November, early December to the board. We're looking at data, and data is numbers, but the data is also the anecdotal data. It's qualitative and quantitative data both, and input from community has been a big part of that so far too. We're gonna look at the implications that are involved. That's what we're thinking the work of doing. I'll show you a quick slide on that. And we're trying to really take that holistic approach to determine which schools to recommend. We know nobody wants it to be theirs, we get that. But we think we're trying to also say 3 or 4 years from now, we think we can be in a better place for our elementary students 3 or 4 years from now if we do something than if we 3 or 4 years from now have still done nothing. So the 5 categories I alluded to were student enrollment and residential population, and different ways of looking at that. It includes not only the numbers now, but where we've been, what the trends are going, what does cohort survival rate look like? In other words, how many of the 4th graders at school X actually become 5th graders at that same school the next year? Do we keep about the same number? Do we lose students? Things like that. We're digging into the numbers more. Same with, we know that proximity to neighborhood schools is an important piece that we've heard loud and clear from our constituents. And our buildings, we have many very nice buildings. We have some buildings that are starting to age and show that they've been loved a long time, but they're showing some wear and tear. and where our programs are, and also, of course, the community input and stakeholder feedback we've been collecting. So we have two groups working in our district, a data group and a transition group. And who serves it or who's part of those groups really depends on the kind of data we're looking at. The transportation director really gets tired. He knows on Thursdays I show up and I spend way more time with him than he'd probably like me to, but we dig in deep on that. And then on other days, it's working with our business administrator. And other days, it's working with special education. And other days, it's teaching and learning. So we're getting that information. And the real key part here, I really applaud on this transition group of what we're really doing. Once decisions are made, it's what we do with those decisions that are really gonna drive whether this is successful or not. And to see our superintendent in there with her sleeves rolled up, part of that transition group, really being a voice, but also being a very collaborative voice about what's happening in their lens, really to this idea of we're committed to that transition being as good as it can be. We know that it's going to be tough, but again, we're looking at what does 3 or 4 years from now look like if we don't do something versus if we do it now, how can it look? Whoops, sorry. Okay, our district main page, if you go there and you click on the learn more about the process, you can send a comment, and you can do that in English or Spanish. You can look at the different meetings that we've had over the last couple months as far as YouTube. You can look at our frequently asked questions. We're adding more information to our data in those areas down here as time goes on, but you can spend a lot of time once you click on this button, getting to this second page with a bunch of information that can be helpful to learning more and digging in about it. This referred to those meetings 1 through 5 most recently. We've completed those 5. We listened to feedback from the spring and we tried to offer them on different nights of the week, not always on the same night. We tried to offer them some weekend, talk to people about mornings, afternoons, which would work best when we went with mornings. And we had a turnout of these. I also went to each of the 7 schools being studied for the further study schools, each of the 7, and had anywhere from 30, 40 participants. We tried to answer questions specific to their school, 30 or 40 participants up to 170. So wide range there too, and each of those schools. We've gone through what you see here. This timeline is also on our website, and there is more coming up right now. We've got more coming up next week with a public comment during that board meeting in November. There's another one on November 20th. The public hearing we do know is going to be at West Heights School to accommodate numbers of people. So we hope that if you get a chance, you can come to one of these or all of these and listen in and be part of that process as well. And that gives you an idea of the why and where we're going. Yeah.
I've got a question with regards to the last slide.
Right here?
Yeah, it says the word in December, it says the recommendation options will be placed for the discussion. Is your committee going to provide the board members or the superintendent with more than one option? It's going to be a plan A, plan B, plan C for them to review. Or are you just going to say one thing and that's it?
So feel free to chime in, Superintendent Grant, on any of it that you'd like. Superintendent Grant will obviously do the recommendation with the board with the input from those committees that we've been doing over the last couple of months. If you want to say more on
that. We're looking at doing that. We're also looking at providing one recommendation as well. So it may just be one that lists the schools that we would recommend for closure among the 7, the boundaries that we would propose.
Can you
go
talk
along
to the microphone?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we are looking at, a couple of alternatives. One would be providing some different options of schools to close. But we're also digging in so deeply that we are, getting down to where we think we have some confidence about what we would like to recommend to the board. And so with that recommendation would be the schools that we would suggest for closure, and those schools would then go through a period of closures through the spring, and close over the summertime, so that no students would attend them come fall 2024. And then we would recommend boundaries for the new alignment and where we think it would be good to draw boundaries around neighborhoods and schools. And then the third piece in that would be providing a recommendation of where special programs go. There are 3 special programs that the district supports, a special education program hub, which is a conglomeration of services for special ed students, particular special ed students in some schools. A magnet gifted and talent program called the ELP, or Extended Learning Program. And the third one is, as Brian mentioned, is the dual language immersion. And our goals with those programs are, as we're looking at placement around the city, is to try and make them accessible to our families across the city. What has happened is they have grown up a little organically, but without real forethought about how to provide access to each of those programs to families across the districts and make it easier for them to access that variety of programs.
And a lot of those recommendations, schools to be closed, boundaries, and where your special programs are located, will all be provided to the board in December.
Yes. By the December 8th, before that public hearing begins.
December 5th.
December 5th, yeah. Yeah, you have a question, I think.
There's 7 schools on the list currently being looked at, anywhere from 1 to 7 being closed. Are you figuring 3-ish?
Do you know what? I think I would be irresponsible to name a number tonight and before there's been a final recommendation with my team and with myself about what I would recommend to the board. So I'm sorry, I can't answer that one tonight to be helpful to you. Yeah, I can say, maybe not. You know, it's sort of tough when you're in a position like this to be careful about the dispersal of information in the public. We see the many challenges of closing 7 at a time. Yes, Jen?
Yes. I was just looking at the Elko, they did a public records request. And one of the things that popped out is there was notes with the crossing guards and busing and things like that. And that's the first time I've seen any notes from this process. So as I was looking at that, it said there would be no problem if you closed all 7, it would be covered. I'm just wondering, as a public, if we can just kind of get, there has to have been a plan out there at some level of closing 7 schools, where we would go, what our worst case scenario is. I mean, is
There's
there
not.
anything you can give us?
No,
that,
there's
like,
not.
gives us-
There are not those plans of worst case scenario. What I'm trying to understand what you're asking for exactly.
Well, what I'm trying to see is it says you'll go, the busing will go to a tier 2 status or something, and then there's no problem, and all of a sudden all of our busing problems in the city are gone. And I don't understand how closing schools is gonna help the busing problem, and that is like an argument in this meeting that these are why we're closing schools. So I'm having confusion on that. It's, I don't get it.
We do want to try.
Late buses at Bryan all the time.
So, this is for the elementary schools, not the middle, so it's not gonna help with the Bryant problem that you just mentioned. So we do want to, as much as we can, create schools that are walkable for students. The walkable line is at 1.5 miles. That's what the federal government reimburses school districts for. Anybody, we can bus people beyond 1.5 miles and get paid back for it. So, that helps us make that possible. The aim is to create walkable schools as much as we can. We have not drawn bus routes because we don't know which schools are gonna close right now. And so we're taking a look at those options right now and getting just a cursory look at what might be possible, but should the board vote to close some schools, we'll put out bus routes and what the implications are that way around that for the transportation. But did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add one piece.
Please.
I think the piece that really needs, that has been, I think, tough for some to hear. But it is the cornerstone of what we're talking about. These 7 schools are further study schools. These 7 schools were never said, here board, here's 7 schools, close these 7. It's, here are 7 schools, we need to learn a lot more about them. Could they close? Yes. We don't know where that's going to turn out, but this is about further study, not about, hey, the plan has to already be in place for closure. No, we weren't ever going into it saying we're going to close all these schools without, we're going to further study things and then see where things land that way.
Yeah.
I hear that loud and clear. So my name is Christina, I'm the chair of the East Liberty Park Community Organization. And we tend to be very data-driven and evidence-based. So I guess we're kind of taking up the mantle for parents who are also looking for the school district to be data-driven and evidence-based. And we've heard from parents from all over the city. One thing we can't answer, we can't help people with in our constituency is those 7 schools have been elected for further study. And everybody asks, why those 7 schools? But we can't follow up with any numbers on why those 7 schools. Can you just help us figure out how to talk to our constituents, meaning your public, our public, and answer that really simple question in a nutshell?
Yeah, let me give that a try, and then Brian, who ran that process for us, and was one leading all those meetings with the experts within the district, can add color and commentary to the conversation. We were looking at schools that had a low residential enrollment, a low local enrollment, meaning there are programs placed within schools that were put there because there was room to place them there, but they can be placed elsewhere. So that's hard because it requires some disruption to families, of course, but those programs attract families from all over the district. This is what was with Lowell Elementary. There were 2 classrooms that were served the neighborhood. There was one classroom that was a gifted and magnet gifted and talented. When they looked at Lowell, they said those 2 classrooms, which were a lot of people from out of the district, the avenues were losing students. They said because of that school should be studied for further closure. That's one thing we looked at, is low enrollment. Particularly, there is a list of 16 things that in creating a policy for all school closures going forward, the board said, please look at 16 different factors. Some of those factors have more relevance for some schools than others, maybe high schools or junior highs. So they were not all relevant to the choosing of the 7 schools, but we focused particularly on the enrollment and the enrollment patterns and our understanding of demographics over the past years and what they projected into the years ahead. The building quality, including the learning environment within the building. Some of our buildings are old, some of them are newer. So there may be schools that have a low enrollment, but they're a new building. It seems fiscally irresponsible to close a building that's so much newer, even if their enrollment's low. Maybe there's a way to rearrange boundaries and think about that, because these schools are quite expensive, right? They're tens of millions of dollars. And so some of this is a function of historical patterns of just schools that were built a long time ago and schools that were built more recently. So as we look through the categories of things, so we were also looking at the quality of the learning environment. Some architectural designs are not as conducive to great learning spaces as others. So we were looking at that and what it meant for working with those schools. We were also looking at what are the 4 categories? So there was the enrollment, the building quality.
These are the ones that, I mean, some of
These
these
are
obviously.
These are kind of the higher level ideas of building, also the proximity with other schools, and some of these schools, as community members have pointed out, are close to each other or within a single line if you draw it from South Temple down to, what are we at, about 8, 9 south for those schools.
So that would be linear north-south, not east-west.
Right,
Okay.
that's linear north-south. There's a line of schools there. So, but we were looking at placement in neighborhood as well as thinking about these programs and which ones might be able to move. So we were also looking at, and this needs to be clear, there were a lot of schools that are not on the list. Some of the schools were not chosen because they're new, as I mentioned, right? So we aren't gonna quit using a very new building. Some of those schools had what are called community learning centers, which are a combination health clinic community learning centers, and we didn't put those schools on the list. Couple of the schools a number of schools are up on the east side. People have been very concerned that we did not name Indian Hills, which is our furthest east school, onto the list. Indian Hills has about 330 students. The challenge is when we look at proximity, there wasn't an option. If we close Indian Hills, there's no walkable alternative. Each one of our other schools has a walkable alternative for part, at least, of the population to get to. So essentially, by closing Indian Hills, we're saying that we would bus 330 students across Foothill. That way, it's also trying to absorb those students into schools that are actually fairly full, which are the neighborhood ones nearby, Beacon Heights, Dilworth, down to Bonneville. So we're looking at those are the kinds of things we took into account in naming schools that were what the policy calls viable options. They were considerations. These have been schools that people have looked at for a number of years. The superintendent before me had looked at this. At the time, they named 14 schools. The 7 that we're looking at now were among those 14, but there was no reason to look at all 14 at this time. So this, and if I can say, and I mentioned that report about the declining population in Utah, we're going to be dealing with this for a long time to come. So this process will be ongoing. The way the board has written the policy now, we'll look at this every year. It is the superintendent's job to report to the board on what should be done next year around this. So probably nothing, right? Because we'll have gone through this process already. But each year annually, I am to report on the enrollment changes and what it means for our district. I imagine with the projections that we have now, we're projected to lose another maybe 2,000 students. If we have schools of about 500 at the elementary level. Now these are 2,000 across K-6, so it doesn't quite translate into elementary. But that is another school or 2 in different places that we would look at closing. So it's going to continue as our demographics shift that way.
Well, that was a great answer. So I really, really appreciate you going into length about that. The other question I have, just as a follow-up, is the Garner Institute does publish a lot of information. So we were wondering if you are taking your data from one specific Garner Institute report, or are you just trying to bring information in from the 2000 census?
We've used that information, as Brian wisely explains. It's not very helpful for us, is the problem. Because they can say that there are a number of 0 to 5-year-old kids. We don't know how many attend public schools, again, because of competition, and they might go elsewhere. There are also trends in urban areas of people as their families age, they move to the suburbs for a different school experience or for a larger home or some more property or some things like that for other experiences. So the census has not been as predictive as of our future enrollment as we would like, or even of our current enrollment. So if we look at the census right now, what it projected in terms of 5-year-olds entering schools doesn't line up with what we ended up with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so the census is useful as a baseline of looking at trends, but hasn't helped us with enrollment predictions as much as you'd imagine.
So then how are you using the Garner Institute? That
So-
you're reporting.
So that's just information to be helpful, and those are just those recent reports. There was the one that came out yesterday about the declining, or 2 days ago about declining stool population across the state and what the implications are financially. There was a report a couple of weeks ago, three, called A New Utah, which captured some, including that slide about affordable housing, unaffordable housing, which is of course a problem everywhere. So yeah, so we haven't used their numbers directly, but I think it helps inform the public some of their information about the larger trends that are surrounding us.
We've used applied economics. Applied economics was a projection that
It was a demographic firm that did some analysis for us, looking
Yeah.
at census data as well as other data that we have in the district.
right, so they pulled in different sources for their information as well.
Yeah.
And then there was one before that, I can't remember its name,
Applied economics.
before that one,
No,
can't remember the name.
Can you?
Data.
Davis Demographics, yeah.
So
I think we're getting the hook here.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, we have to move on, but
Yeah,
we really appreciate you guys making. the
thank
time
you.
to
Thanks
come
for making time
and
for
present
us.
to us. And
Yeah.
I know that there's gonna be some more opportunities for public comment, so.
And Brianna, if y'all want me to come back, I'm happy to make this a more frequent visit for me. I actually work right upstairs on levels 3 and 4. I manage the lady department here, so
Okay.
I can sneak down. I usually work till 8 on Wednesdays, so I'm always around.
Awesome, thanks, Nate. Bill, you're up.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Baranowski, and this is Irvin. And we're from the Transportation Department in Salt Lake City. And I appreciate that last presentation. I'm one of those. I went to all the schools in Salt Lake City that I could. So I graduated from high school. I was the baby booms that they showed where it crashed in '79. That was me.
Just to talk a little louder.
Sure. Can you plug me in? I've got a few slides, but let me tell you about the Livable Streets program. If I had named the Livable Streets program, I would have called it the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program. It's really talking about neighborhood traffic. And if you see my slides here, that'll be become pretty much. So things about it. So the program's been going on since a year ago, and it's funded through the city council. Gives us about $2.5 million a year to do projects in the city. Right now we're working, and the city's been split up into 113 zones, and the zones were prioritized based on the traffic issues. I mean, the amount of traffic and demographic numbers have a lot of not just traffic, but socioeconomic data. And the reason for that is to spread the projects over the entire city. You know, in the past, a lot of the projects were only on the east side, so that the way this program was set up to also hit the central city neighborhoods and west side and east side equally. And it looks like most of the projects are going to be on the east side and central part of the city for these next couple of years. So the city was split up in these zones, and right now we're working on the top 10 zones. The Capitol Hill zone was number 1, and that works out just completing. And we're working at Sugar House, just west side of Sugar House, zone 2, and the rest are on the west side. And right here we're in zone 8, and let's talk about the boundaries of zone 8. So 4 south is the north boundary of zone 8, and 9 south is the south boundary,
and then third east on the west side of the zone, and fifth east on the east side. So it's a kind of narrow zone. And the streets that are eligible are mostly neighborhood or residential streets. So they're shown here in yellow. 3rd East, 7th South, Blair Street, Sago Ave, and Denver Street, and a few others. Does anybody live on any of these streets that's here? That's great. I'm excited to hear that. So this is the chance, when we do traffic calming on residential neighborhoods, it's a chance to change your street, to make it better. Not many people have that opportunity, so this is kind of exciting to have that opportunity. Most effective traffic calming we know about is speed humps, or commonly called speed bumps. And here's a picture of one. I always like to put this picture here because a lot of people think a speed bump as something you see at the shopping center, you know, or at a school even, where you got these really annoying bumps that might damage your car. But these speed humps that we have are designed to, you can drive over and go at 15 to 20 miles per hour. We also have opportunity to do traffic calming on 3rd East, which is more of a collector street, but it's residential in nature. There's already some traffic calming on 3rd East. There's a really good race crosswalk right here at the bike. Wow. So we'd like to do more of that on 3rd East. Potentially, it's just to the south. There's a crosswalk that is mid-block, and it's really, it kind of screams another raised crosswalk. So there's something we can do there. And then on 7th South, if you look at the over by 5th East and 7th South, there's angle parking. Wouldn't it be great to have more angle parking? By Brandy's place, right? And there's even a project going on. Have you guys heard about this?
No, we know nothing about it.
We don't know about the Livable project. I grew up in Salt Lake, and that was my favorite basketball gym. So I'm kind of bummed. And I place a softball field, so I'm kind of bummed that that's going away. But it's going to allow for some new residential development. And Ivory Homes, pretty good developer. But how can we make that project better? Can we add some, can we add some fold outs, maybe at the corners, you know, angle parking on the street? So all those things they don't really, you know, angle parking doesn't slow traffic a lot, but the fold outs at intersections does slow traffic. Going back to this slide, at 7th South and 3rd East. Project went in, I don't know how long ago, but that kind of shrunk the intersection for not a lot of money. And that's kind of.
Did it though?
That paint's all faded now.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
just paint on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and then it's called MMA paint, and it kind of shrunk the intersection. I rode through it today on my bike to check it out. But maybe that could become a permanent project. Right now, it's just kind of temporary with paint. Hey, I got a question. I got some questions.
Okay. So I love the community, we fight on that all the time, but a lot of times there's cars in the bike lane.
Yeah, all the time.
And with the restructuring and the little streets, maybe removing ones, but I don't know, I don't feel like people unfortunately understand it.
People in the parking, yeah.
Parking, not driving. So tonight, we're not going to solve all the issues tonight. I'm just here to introduce the program, but we are going to have a at least 1 or 2 special meetings where we're going to invite everybody to come in and talk about all these issues, you know, the nitty gritty. Parking is always an issue.
You have something parking enforcement to like, ticket people for parking, to like, yeah, on that.
In my experience, reporting those types of concerns on SLC Mobile has gotten a very immediate response by them.
Yeah.
So do please take advantage of that. But yeah, my question on that would be just, are there currently any plans at all for a truly separated protected bike lane anywhere in the city?
I don't know.
It's dangerous,
okay.
But we're kind of focused on, we have a toolkit, speed humps, speed bumps, narrowing the intersections. So those are great questions for some other groups at the city to do that. Wish I had all the answers. Kyle knows a lot about that. But I just want to introduce the program and let you guys a heads up what's coming. So it's not a shock.
Thank you.
Well, I'll let Kyle talk to these guys.
Just a few minutes, our
Yes.
presenter showed up, so.
Sorry, we have our first round for this zone. The meeting is next Wednesday in this building on a conference room on floor 3. I have a QR code up here that you can scan for to take you to the website. It has all the information about the meeting, and we'll have a web survey and all that stuff. We're working on getting it translated. All that will be live by next week. So if you just check the website, you can take the survey or join us in person next Wednesday in this building from 6 to 7 p.m. And then your question about the separated bike lanes. Yeah, we've got, we just finished one on 3rd West, another one on the 9th line from 9th West to 9th East is going to be finished this year. And we're planning one on 21st South from 7th East to the 13th East. So those are all shared use paths, not the protected bike lane that we're hoping for. But we do realize that biking in this city is dangerous, and we're trying to improve that through building at least shared use paths. And there will be more protected bike lane or protected infrastructure coming in the future, but I can't tell you like specifically if we have any plans for it. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Just to tell you that the rollout for 300 East and 700 South is abominable. It came to the community council the day before they started the project. It was a hokey advertising ploy for some company.
Yeah, it's been years.
Plastic that broke almost immediately. What's there now is a fraction of what was installed. So that was a disaster. It was a PR disaster. I mean, they were very on Wednesday night, they were doing it.
The good thing is, Kyle and I, we're new, so we don't.
Yeah.
But come to the meeting next week.
If you can hear that, I would remind you. But
I am proud to be a Salt Lake City resident, even though we have there's a lot of problems.
yeah, but anyway,
But we're trying to set up.
I will get back to you on that. I'll be, if you have any questions, come grab me after the meeting.
And what's the? It's all about status, all the different, this stuff here. Okay. Is that been on that vision?
Yeah, I got a business card and a maintenance card. I'll be available.
Thanks, Bill.
Sorry, everyone. I thought I was early. Apparently I was late. Thank you very much. Very much.
That better? Okay. Thank you. I'll make this quick. I'm here to introduce a new development project that we have going on. We call it Edison Tower, Edison Street Apartments. It's referred to as a few different things. It's just right up here, right up the street here, 250 South, 200 East, just north of Ken Sanders bookstore. Right now it's an empty lot next to the state property and next to the Randy, and a recent apartment building that went in. Here to introduce it, we're going through design review in Salt Lake City because we are asking for a reduction in height. We had a project design and fully entitled and actually had the permit to build it a couple of years ago.
At that time, we had to go into the city and ask for additional height because we were at 112 feet and the coder kept us at 80. We redesigned this to be, or it kept us at 85. We redesigned this to be 85 feet. And while we were redesigning, the city changed the code to have a minimum height of. So now we're asking for a design review for going below the minimum height. So it's an 85-foot tall building, 197 market rate units. The great part about this building, I would say, is we are proposing a mid-block crossing, which I know is popping up all over Salt Lake City. I think this one's really important. There is not a lot of mid-block walkways. This one will connect right into downtown. So we're dedicating a little over 20 feet of our property on the north side of that, in between us and the Randy, to have a mid-block walkway in our building. It's a highly amenitized building. We have a speakeasy that's just going to be for the residents. We have ground floor retail, golf simulator, game room, arcade room, cold plunge, yoga, fitness, pool, spas. It's a highly amenitized building that's not unbelievably tall. We are going to the city for design review for reducing the height. It's also a longer building than the new code allows. They just recently adopted a code that limits building widths. This one is longer than that. So we submitted for this application right as the code changed. So it's honestly caught us a little bit off guard because it wasn't even published online yet. But that's why we're going through. I just wanted to show some pictures to the group and get any questions that you may have. So again, this is off of 200E, the ground floor retail, and then our amenity decks are up here on top of the podium.
How long is it?
300 feet. The old building that we got approved was 270 feet. And it's called the Chancellor. It's an old building right next to the Randy right now. That wasn't our property, and then that one came for sale. It's the one that burned down recently. And so we stopped the project to acquire that additional land and develop it all holistically rather than in a patchwork framework. So it got a little longer than it was before because we acquired that additional land. All the parking will be inside a structure underground. That'll be for the residents. Like I said, ground floor retail, restaurants along 200 East, and outdoor dining. Sorry, I'm gonna try to skip to this is the back of the building. The state's actually building a liquor store right here in this parking lot. We tried to work with the state and incorporate their project into ours so they wouldn't have this big surface parking lot, which at second in Salt Lake City, I don't know why there's a surface parking lot. They decided not to go with us, and since they're not regulated by the city, they're leaving that surface parking lot. So this is the back of our building now. This is I don't know what the restaurant's called. This is on Edison Street. I just know the developer, it's Ben Logue. He recently redid it, added a level, it has bananas on the back. Edison House. Franklin, yeah. So that's where that building sits. Right now, this is an empty parking structure. So our building will have a little bit of frontage on Edison as well, which is an amazing street. Edison Street. Whew, that's a great one in your city. Some of the amenity spaces. Okay, so this is the mid-block walkway that we're proposing. I am assuming this group knows about the green loop. Plans for the green loop. The green loop is going to go right in front of this building and connect to this walkway, hopefully. We're trying to emphasize that as much as we can. I'm going to go learn more about the green loop this week. We are proposing in the middle here 3 incubator spaces for new, like, small scale food restaurants that come in and need a place to kind of test out their food strategies without paying a crazy amount of rent. So there will be 3 spaces in there for incubator food places that people can come get lunch in the mid-block walkway. Just some concept images that we're proposing. There'll be some kind of artwork. This is right behind the gun shop there. We share a border with them. So these are those food incubator spaces in the middle of the mid-block. And just some nice outdoor comfortable space that connects the city from 200 East to Edison. And then there's also a mid-block from Edison to 100 or whatever that street is to the west. So We're pretty excited about the project. We're stoked to be in Salt Lake City, especially in the heart of downtown. There's a lot of cool stuff happening. So we're happy to be here. Happy to take any questions you have. Sorry to keep you late. Yeah.
So the planning commission is going through a transition in terms of design review. So do you have design review on this building other than the height? Or where do you stand in terms of that? Because they just initiated a review and like 20 pages for being bought. And the bingo hopper of city rules. They're also concerned about how the ground level retail is not happening. It sounds like you have a stronger commitment to that. I mean, developers here are trying to skirt ground for retail. Putting a leasing office there, putting a weight room there. They're not trying to get commercial tenants on the first level.
Right.
So the planning commission is watching that.
Right. And to be honest with you, in other cities that we've developed in, when they require ground floor retail in the middle of a suburb, it's very, very difficult. And yes, we've used it as leasing offices. In downtown Salt Lake City, we've committed to this because we feel as an amenity to our residents and the public. Once the planning commission approves this, we're kind of locked to that. We are working with the city RDA as well, and economic development people, to already start recruiting businesses here. We feel comfortable with it. We're not going to be putting our leasing office and weight room have a spot, and they're all on the upper deck. The leasing office is on the main floor, but not in the retail spaces. So we have that plan. We can't fill it anymore. We're anticipating retail, restaurant, coffee shops here.
So the entire street frontage, engaging pedestrian.
There's a portion of it that is the leasing office and like a lounge out front. But I think that there's a requirement design review that we're meeting. I think it's 70% of the frontage or something. Don't quote me, but it's something, and we have to meet that requirement with this new code. For design review, we're asking for reduction in height, increase to the minimum building length, and upper floor glass. The new code requires a lot of glass in the upper stories, which for residential is difficult because people don't want to be completely in a fishbowl. So we're asking for a modification in that as well.
So I'm curious about the reduction in height, if you clearly above 6 frame, or are you able to use the podium in 6 frame?
So it's two floors of podium, 5 floors of stick frame. So we're 85 is the max. We're right there.
The city's clueless about construction, and how that drives height, which, you know.
Yeah, putting the minimum height at 100 is tough because stick frame's 85. If you go above that, you kind of have to jump to 120 to make it work, right? So yeah, we're right in the middle of all that, yes. Very insightful, nicely done. Depends on how fast I can get through this process. No,
6 to 10 years.
Yeah. We hope to go to planning commission in December. This is in an opportunity zone. And so we are tied to spend funds quickly before we lose that opportunity zone. So we're anticipating submitting permit beginning of the year and starting sometime next summer. Spring, summer is our hope.
Yeah.
Unless things go terribly wrong. The economy's a little crazy, but
We can't agree with that section part, to be honest.
it's a little scary. Yeah.
It's a really cool area.
We're gonna take it down. Edison is an exciting, cool street, and we hope to enhance it. It's great. Yeah,
You said 197 market agreements.
that's right. Thank you for having me. Sorry I was late.
There's no Zoom questions on this, so we're good.
Hey, Tim, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Give a quick update, just like a few minutes.
Yeah, I apologize for the technical difficulties I was having earlier. I'm listed as Marta Inez Quintero. This is my wife's computer, so nice to join with you all. She was able to get me hooked up for some reason. My computer was having issues. I did want to reinforce the gentleman that was speaking about the Green Loop tomorrow in person on November 2nd at the plaza in front of 349 South 200 East. So from noon to 6:30, there will be opportunities for a walking tour. And the project designs that will be highlighted for the Green Loop will be available. And if you weren't able to enjoy the Green Loop before, I encourage you to take the opportunity to experience it and what they're envisioning for this next stage. It's a lot of fun, just really exciting to have a downtown inland park with shared space that's more amenable for everyone, for all walks of life. So if you're able to enjoy that, that's tomorrow, Thursday, November 2nd at the Plaza, 349 200 East. I also wanted to give you an update. ACE funding, the Arts, Culture, and Events Fund that the mayor's office provides, over $200,000 a year. This is community building at its grassroots. So with that little bit of seed money, and I think you all were able to showcase that and highlight that with the Topher Park and the Pizza in the Park at Riverton this year, Riverton Park. So sorry?
Richmond Park.
Richmond, thank you. I don't know why I said Riverton. Richmond. That was such a great event and just brought the community out. But that's exactly what this is for. It's just to bring everyone out together and establish some public art projects and programs and really build the community with different cultures, experiences, and lifestyles, and get everybody out to know one another. So make sure that you participate in the ACE grant. Let's see, the deadline for that, you can apply for it up until December 13th. So make sure you get in on that. As you also know, on our feedback community page on the website for the mayor's office, under feedback community, there are a lot of different surveys going on right now. Everything from housing stability to affordable housing. We had one on the daylighting for City Creek, which was an exciting event that we showcased 2 Saturdays ago by Folsom Trail, where we actually uncover the City Creek and expose it where it's been covered for eons, years. But daylighting it brings the life, the vitality, the experience of aquatic and waterfowl life back to the community, back to the area, and it's right on Folsom Trail. We had the groundbreaking ceremony for Glendale Park. It's a new regional park that we're building up 1700 South and 1300 West. But there's some exciting things with the development for a new regional park. We have Sugar House, we have Liberty Park, and now we have Glendale. So make sure you check out that feedback community website. I didn't know if, because I wasn't able to get on till later, but council member Anna Valdemoros might have talked about it, that council member Alejandro Poi has a effort to fight the freight train crisis. And he's also asking for a survey. If you've ever been stuck out on 500 West trying to cross the underpass and you get stuck by the railroad tracks, you can be stuck there for quite a while. So he's asking for community input on their experiences with that and looking for ideas to invest in different ways in making that east-west connection better. And then, let's see. Oh, mayor's having a bike to work day on November 7th. Tuesday, it'll start at the Sorensen Multicultural Community Center at 7:30 a.m. If you want to join in on that, that's a lot of fun. I do that every she sponsors it every quarterly, just trying to get people to get out and get on their bike. And then the last one, the next Homeless Resource Center, Homeless Resource Fair. Homeless Resource Fair will be at Library Square on November 17th. They had to change the Friday because it conflicted with Veterans Day, November 11th. So from 9:30 to 12:30 will be the Homeless Resource Fair at Library Square. And I'm open for any questions. Thanks for your patience tonight. Yeah.
Oh, I was just wondering, are you guys any closer to getting a provider for the sanctioned camping thing? I know that was had a little hiccup. How close is that, or what is the ETA on getting that started?
Thanks, Brandy. I appreciate that. Yeah, we were. This has been very frustrating, very stressful. We had hoped to have everything online. We actually have the tough sheds ready to go. I drove out there last week. Well, Monday as well, 588 West, 300 South, where the state sanctioned camp is going to be. We call it the temporary shelter community. I guess the state didn't like the proposals that were put in from the RFP request for the service providers for that program. So they didn't accept any of them, and they've opened it back up for proposals again.
Are they being very clear with what they're requiring, so it's more efficient this time? Oh, good, okay.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Sorry, Tim, we're here too. This is Dennis. We can respond to Brandy regarding that.
Okay.
Oh, you're here. Thanks, Dennis. Go ahead.
Yes, there are very clear minimum requirements. The biggest problem is that because it is a state contract, all state contracts are done on a reimbursement basis. So the organizations have to have a well of funds available for staff and whatever to cover until they get reimbursed.
So they have to be well established and have a bigger company, not just a local place.
You got to have the money to be able to float until you get reimbursed.
Wow, okay.
So
to get people to do that.
and that's true for every state contract. So, and there just wasn't any established provider that's applied for this opportunity. So nobody met the requirements.
Yeah, we don't know, but one of the ideas is they lengthened the contract, so it was the temporary 6 month, but they made it to 18 months. So after the temporary one moves to state land, so hopefully that will entice some of the more established providers that are able to get it going and have staff and the track record and know how to submit everything.
And what are the providers called again? Is there a name for this type of company that does this? I mean, besides the provider. What are they known as? Operators?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, most of them are nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
A service provider, operator, someone to operate.
Would I recognize a name of one of them in the world? Do you know what any names? With it?
And just about anybody could apply. I mean, it's
We don't really know how to apply, like that's kind of secret from us too. But like the ones that are operating now are like the Road Home Volunteers America. Those are like I guess all the service providers, but we're not sure exactly who apply.
Okay.
Could we set some of the regulations by having movie nights?
For the record, that's in a church. Church can do any damn thing they please in this town. So there was never any reason against it.
We could put a steeple there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Really appreciate the questions. It has been a little stressful for us, you know, as the temperatures are dropping out there, we want to get as many people in sheltered as we can. I don't know if Stephen was able to give the report earlier from our heart team, but the overflow shelter opens up Thursday. So we're excited to have those 170 spaces that we're able to move people in 24/7 and start addressing start expanding some of the temporary spaces that we've had along with the HRCs that are expanding and flexing their bed space that's available beginning November 1st as well. So that'll all be very helpful in getting people out of the cold and into a bed space.
As of tomorrow, we will have 460 additional winter overflow beds open. and continuing to grow.
Do you have any idea how many people refuse to go inside whatsoever, any number that you guys like?
No, that's,
Huh?
no,
No?
there's no way to count that because we've never had an excess of beds available to offer.
The more, it will be no more this year, like who's refusing to stay out no matter what outside, I guess, or you, not to this count.
How can we count them as refusing to go in when there's no place for them to go?
Right, yeah.
So if in the event we get up to and actually have enough excess beds,
Yeah.
then we can start to count something like that. So far, we've just been counting turnaways of people that were turning away today, you know, and it's been over the past few months in each of the HRCs, it's been 30-ish a day from each of them. Turning away because there's no space.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rihanna. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, I think we're in good shape. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it.
Thanks for your patience tonight. Thanks,
You bet.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, thanks for letting us come.
Did Christy Bills get to speak? Did she talk about it?
Yes, she did. And I think the three of us should connect.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
Great.
bye.
Thank you.